Hello and welcome to episode 37. This week we reveal who won the battle between the online gambling companies, Playtech and the Rank Group. We have a portfolio update and we battle two more stocks against each other with this week's theme of best gaming companies. Without further delay, let's get underway. Every week we invest £25 into each portfolio. One portfolio where you select the stocks, one that tracks the market, and one that generates income to pay to you. We'll then invest an extra £1 into each portfolio for every 100 subscribers we get. It was a difficult one last week. There were lots of good companies to choose from, and there was a lot going on in each of them. For example, Playtech and all of the crazy sales and future forecasts that's going on with that company made it really difficult to choose. But ultimately, there can only be one, and this week's winner was Playtech.
3, 2, 1, go.
Last week, everything was back in the green, which was lovely to see. The benchmark up a huge 3.8%. This week, however, more tariff uncertainty and a few little wobbles in the market. So we're back to red. Benchmark down 2.8%. However, Battle Royale performing slightly better, down only 1.6%. The biggest movers in the portfolio this week unfortunately tended more towards the red side. The already volatile Reddit fell another 11%. Tate & Lyle and Oxford Lane Capital not doing much better, falling just over 9% between them. A few bits and pieces going on in the portfolios this week. Games Workshop earnings released, and although positive, the stock fell on the news. However, overall pretty neutral, as you can see from the rest. A few more bits and pieces of bad news. A quick look at the Battle Royale organised by Total Return shows that On the Beach is still king of the castle. A few more changes along the way this week. Games Workshop doing well, Google hanging in there, and Nvidia up 7% overall for us. However, on the downside, there is quite a number now forming. Oxford Lane Capital, the dividend payer, down 11.9%. Expedia Group down 20, Dick's doing one of our worst performers, Black Rifle Coffee unsurprisingly bad, and Reddit now 45% down, our initial investment of £25 down to 12. That's reflected in the overall holdings within the Battle Royale. We're up to 35 holdings in total, 18 of those are losers and 17 of them are in profit. Now to the funds generated by the income generator, we're up to £27.43 in annual dividends. That's up from £26.65 last week. The next payment in June is going to be £9.60, and the payment in September following that is £5.93, which means our next payout is going to be £15.50. We've now added £875 to each of our three portfolios, and last week things were starting to look up. We saw green for the Battle Royale, income generator and benchmark. This week, however, it's back to normal proceedings because we are in red for the benchmark and the income generator. However, the Battle Royale is hanging in there with a total return of 0.6%. Overall, that means we've now invested £2,576, or at least that's what the portfolio is worth. We've lost £22 of our initial investment, falling 0.9%, but we're getting £47.50 in dividends.
3, 2, 1, fight.
Okay, so we've done online gambling companies, or gaming companies as they're known, and that led to the natural conclusion that we had to do proper gaming companies. Your computer games, PlayStation games, VR, anything that someone too old to be doing it should love, which of course I do, which makes this week a really difficult proposition. However, I've found a few companies for us to look at. Let's dive in.
When I think gaming, I think PlayStation and Xbox. Now, I can't invest in Microsoft because we already have. That's already in the Battle Royale. However, Sony we can. I had a quick look at them and they're not doing too badly, although they are a little bit overvalued, and apparently the future growth, according to Trading 212, is nothing exceptional. If I'm not thinking a PlayStation or an Xbox, I'm thinking a computer, and what else would you do other than the classic Electronic Arts? That is trading at 7% below its estimate of fair value. However, future growth, nothing wrong with that, but we can do better. And so we're moving into the future with virtual reality and meta platforms. This is going to be one of our two to choose from, so pay attention. This is trading at 9.1% below the estimate of fair value. Its future growth is, although not quite as good as Electronic Arts, it is very tempting, considering that I think VR will definitely be a thing for the future, and this is just, everyone knows Meta. This is an amazing company. It's got such financial strength, and it won't be long before we start getting a little dividend paid out, or that, watching that dividend grow at least. The other choice I'm going to give you is Take-Two Interactive Software. For those gamers amongst you, you will know the likes of Grand Theft Auto, LA Noire, Max Payne, Red Dead Redemption, and it also publishes a few others such as the Bioshock, Civilization, XCOM, Borderlands companies. So what about Take-Two? Well, apparently it's 10.3% undervalued, so relatively comparable to Meta, and the future growth is very impressive, apparently, if such things are to be believed, but it's not as established. It doesn't pay a dividend yield. It's got a negative buyback yield, and if I just quickly flick you through the two, so its market cap is 41 billion, whereas Meta is 1.6 trillion. So you allegedly get a little bit more future growth in Take-Two, but Meta is just the unrelenting behemoth. Look at that snowflake versus Take-Two's snowflake. So it's, do we want to go aggressive or do we want to go for safety?
So there we have it, as easy as ever. Pop a thumbs up in the comments next to the company you think we should be investing in. The one with the most votes will of course be the winner. However, from my perspective, I think we should be investing in... Thank you so much for watching. For those of you in the UK or the US, I hope you've had a wonderful long weekend. For the rest of you, I'm sure it's coming soon. Have a wonderful week ahead. Good luck in the stocks. I won't see you next week, I'm away, but we will see you the following week. Thank you for being here.
Goodbye.